Garfunkel was an alien from the planet Zork 13, located 27 light-years away from Earth, but apparently situated somewhere in between good space travel routes and unsuccessful navigation options. He came to Earth not for any high science purposes, but because he simply had no place to live. On his home planet, where life consisted of identical gray houses shaped like large stones, Garfunkel had never had a chance to dream of owning an apartment. "Let's try something new," he said to his companion, a high-frequency robot named Flap. "Earth. Diversity. There must be discounts on housing." So, Garfunkel was not prepared for the challenges of dealing with the mortgage system. And not just that, he found himself in a line at a local bank branch, where everything seemed like people were about to start paying for apartments in the fifth dimension with cash. This was a problem. Why? Because he had neither cash nor a credit history, and not even an ATM to touch this material world. When his turn finally came, Garfunkel was confronted with the fact that on Earth, not only was housing not paid for with sunlight and cosmic codes, but people also had no idea what Bitcoin was, which, by the way, Garfunkel had first heard about while trying to translate it into his native language. "Hello. I want to take out a mortgage," Garfunkel said, handing the consultant his intergalactic passport with a hastily attached black sticker that he called his alien holographic ID. "I want to buy a house on Earth, somewhere near the sea." The consultant, a woman named Olga, looked at the giant green humanoid alien with enormous eyes and thought, "Well, at least I don't have to worry about offering a loyalty card service." I'm not entirely sure we have a mortgage for aliens," she mumbled, scrolling through her monitor, trying to figure out what to do. "What do you mean, no?" Garfunkel asked, surprised by the refusal from this highly advanced civilization. "Your website says, 'We'll provide housing for everyone.'" "That's for people," she explained. "But you probably don't have a credit history or any documents. We can't find anything about you in our system." Garfunkel frowned. He was an alien with a 1,000-year history, where the only document was a black bubble that created clean reports, but now he had to face a bank with its nonsensical requirements. "All right," he said resolutely. "Then I'll leave a deposit, for the spaceship." The alien who took out a mortgage. Consultant Olga froze, unsure of what to do. She tried to focus on the screen and forget that she was facing an alien making an offer to leave a deposit for a spaceship. In her efforts to not seem too confused, she began searching the database for something that might match this request. "Let's see," she said, automatically starting to search for "deposit for a spaceship" in her system. Maybe we have an option like that. Are you planning to take out a mortgage for an apartment? Or something unusual? Garfunkel realized he needed to act cleverly. If the spaceship idea didn't work, he'd have to come up with something more earthly, but still impressive. He paused for a moment, and then his gaze landed on a stack of promotional flyers on the table. "Maybe your turnkey housing offer would work for me," he suggested with a smile, hoping his interpretation of the term turnkey would be confusing enough to create the desired impression. Olga raised an eyebrow and leaned toward him. "Are you sure you understand what this is? It's an apartment with finishing, not a door to other worlds, if that's what you mean." "Of course," Garfunkel said, nodding as if he knew all about finishing. Back on Zork 13, turnkey means an entire planet with its own laws of physics and a few hundred artificial satellites. "I'm sure your apartment is a fine planet too." Olga grimaced, but seeing that she probably wouldn't get a normal answer, she decided to pretend that she understood everything. After all, she worked at a bank, And banks often have strange clients wanting to take out mortgages on air. So why not entertain this green guy with his unusual offer? Alright, for your turnkey housing, we'll need to follow the standard procedure. We'll check your data, and she slowed her speech, as if worried Garfunkel might literally dissolve into thin air. Let's first talk about your credit history. Which banks do you use on Zork 13? Garfunkel leaned forward, thinking about the answer. On his home planet, banks existed, of course, but they were more like something between libraries and the libraries of the universe, where people took out loans only to build new solar factories or pay for a cosmic laboratory. He knew nothing about traditional credit as understood on Earth. We keep it simpler, Garfunkel said. We just exchange resources for promises. For example, I can offer you a collection of rare meteorites in exchange for a mortgage. Agree, that's much more useful than money. Olga looked at him carefully, and a spark of understanding flashed in her eyes. This might not be the worst day of her life. At least it was interesting. Alright, let's assume your meteorites are interesting, she replied, flipping through papers. But you still have to go through a credit check. Can you show a document confirming your financial standing? Garfunkel thought again. He probably couldn't show his financial standing in the traditional Earth sense. On his planet, financial checks involved showing a star photo print and being asked how much resource you could allocate for an entertainment project. He reached out his hand and touched the screen, trying to project his financial plan via telepathy. But Olga didn't immediately understand it was telepathy. She only saw his fingers moving smoothly across the screen, as if he were trying to write something, but instead, the screens began to flicker. Are you doing something to our computer? She asked with a concerned look. Garfunkel, slightly embarrassed, withdrew his hand and apologized. Oh, sorry. That's my, let's say, data transfer system. I just thought it might speed up the process. But then a brilliant idea struck him. Why not use his unique ability in the negotiation process? Earthlings love unusual conditions, right? You know what? I'll make you an even better offer, Garfunkel said with a smile that could eclipse a solar eclipse. If you approve my mortgage, I'll give you a few cosmic meteorites as a gift, and a trip to the moon for coffee. Maybe you'd like to try it. Olga stood there, unsure of where she had ended up. But, as strange as it sounded, the offer was surprisingly enticing. Alright, she said with complete determination. Let's try to process your application. Who knows, this might be the first mortgage for an alien in Earth's history. Garfunkel smiled, realizing that he might have just become the first alien with a mortgage on Earth.